Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports, our last one for the month of February. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brownhead, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakina McGee on the Twitter and I can McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch up on other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So happen to miss it, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Please download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Excuse me. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please follow and find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And please subscribe to our podcast. We're available on all podcast platforms at War on Anchor, including the iHeartRadio app. Just type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anchor, once again at War on Anchor. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again at War Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll in order to do something stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to build and be about.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can catch Sports Zone Chicago also now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, but you have a handheld device or two laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook like I'm using right now, or like Lakina's using her personal PC computer, just download the Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anywhere, whether it's noon, lunchtime like it is here in the Central Time Zone, or if you're just getting off work at about 3 or 4 in the morning, we're all right here for you. All the sports talk and news and info that you need anytime you want.
And we will provide. Excuse me.
Oh my gosh, we got a busy show for you guys today. As usual, we got our buddy, someone we haven't had on the show in a while, but we got our buddy Bally Sports Maggie Hendricks. She'll catch up on all those latest Chicago sports scene and so much more. We may get a recipe or two from her. Also, our girl Christine Manika from KSRB is back with us. Of course, she'll give her thoughts on the Super Bowl and some other sports happenings as well. So, Sid, let's get to it. It's going to be our basketball power hour.
Yeah, so let's get started. Lakina, the NBA second half of the season unofficially kicked off last night. But before we get to some of the exciting games from last night, we'll focus in on our local team, the Chicago Bulls. They picked up Patrick Beverley from off the scrap heap, and they signed him to a contract for a remainder of the rest of the regular season. Lakina, I don't know if you caught the full Patrick Beverley podcast presented by Barstool Sports. It was all the talk around the Chicago radio stations the last couple of days. And the notable quote was that he was going to get in Zach LaVine's ass. And Zach LaVine was quoted by NBC Sports Chicago first. He was quoted as saying that he tried to recruit Patrick Beverley to come to the Bulls for the last couple of years. Whether that's true or not, that's irrelevant at this point. But Lakina, I think I said this on the show a couple of weeks ago that Patrick Beverley would be a better fit for this team because he brings that defensive energy that you need for this team. He's not a playmaker like the Bulls will miss with Lonzo Ball being out for the rest of the year. But Patrick Beverley brings that leadership. He brings that intensity into defense. And he said on that podcast episode the other day that he doesn't care whose feelings gets hurt. When something needs to be said, It needs to be said, and whoever likes it, whoever doesn't. You need those kind of guys that's nonpartisan that tell you how it is at all times, because if they didn't care, they wouldn't say some of the things they say in the way they say them. So I like this signing for the Chicago Bulls. And I know many people talked about John Wall and Russell Westbrook, but both those guys would have been last options if they would have signed here. Patrick Beverley definitely wanted to come home. I know he said that Golden State had showed some interest in him, but Patrick Beverley belongs in a Bulls uniform, and I hope his attitude transfers from his presence to the rest of that squad, because all the stuff that we've been seeing Lakina on the court and stuff we've been hearing off the court all year, someone needs to shake up the attitude of this team in this locker room. So much that management can do, so much the head coaches can do, but sometimes that type of player with that type of attitude that Beverley has, this team desperately needs. So we'll see start tonight when they host the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I mean, they need a spark, and I think this is something that this is a guy that can do it. Of course, he's from the West Side of Chicago. He went to Marshall High School, and you saw some of his highlights. Our buddies at WGN Sports, showed his highlights from when he was in high school. Good grief! Look at a different looking Pat Bev. Back then he was a little shorter back then as well, but yeah, I think we all know that he's not a scoring machine, but he is, give him that intensity. He brings that passion. We always seen it in the various teams that he's played on and whatnot. So we've seen it. So look, this team needs something. So if he can give him that spark, if he can get out of Zach LaVine's butt. I did read that rumor that LaVine wanted Pat Bev for like the last 2 or 3 years. He already said he's going to get in LaVine's butt. I mean, look, what else can happen? I mean, there's nothing. What else can he can only go up from here. So if you're this Bulls team, so I mean, look, whatever helps. I think they definitely need something, and I know they're going to have revenge on their minds as they play Brooklyn tonight. So I think he will play tonight. How much he'll play, how many minutes he'll play, that's will be a different story. But I think it's definitely why not, right? I mean, look, this team needs something. So why not bring someone who's from the West Side of Chicago, who didn't grow up not too far from the UC. So this is going to be, interesting though, nonetheless. And I think this could be something that something that a spark that the Bulls desperately need.
Also, too, let's focus on the court, Lakina. He can also help out second-year player Ayo Dosunmu, who's also from Chicago. He can help out Kobe White as well. And let's see if he can help out Patrick Williams. I know, see, they play two different positions. What are you talking about? Well, Patrick Williams, sometimes he plays above under his head sometimes. And I know that he thinks too much, but sometimes you just got to play on natural reaction. And Patrick Beverley can give him some tips on that. And so I think this will be benefit to Patrick Williams as well. But Goran Dragic doesn't need Patrick Beverley per se, because he's been in the league just a little bit longer than Patrick Beverley has. But some of those young guys like Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White that I mentioned, those two guys will hopefully benefit from Patrick Beverley's expertise.
Yeah, he could be a mentor for them, and I think that's probably what, again, something that the Bulls really need, is to have kind of like that mentor, that older guy that can bring that intensity, that can bring that that passion and that that fire. That, because it seems like if you saw the last couple of games with the All-Star break, the Bulls kind of lacked, with especially a few players, the Bulls overall lacked that kind of that fire, that that tenaciousness. So, and we know Pat Bev has that. So, look, I'm sure he's gonna play tonight, at home. It'll be very interesting nonetheless. And look, I mean, I know Brooklyn, they've been playing up and down, so they got to rely on their guys and such. But I think this is definitely something that the Bulls could desperately need. So, like I said, we'll see what happens in the rest of the season. But yeah, look, it can only go up from here if you're a Bulls fan.
Yeah, as the late great Norm Van Leer once said, 48 minutes of intensity. So we'll see what the Bulls will do starting tonight as they'll take on the Brooklyn Nets at the United Center. Remember, that game is locally on NBC Sports Chicago. That was supposed to be a 9 o'clock ESPN game, but since Brooklyn traded away their superstars, the Bulls are 6-8 games on the 500. ESPN said, no, go back to your regular local starting time. So once again, NBC Sports Chicago locally tonight as the Bulls will host the Brooklyn Nets. You're listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago, the Friday edition. We're live in living color. Celia Lakina here with you, talking Bulls basketball. We'll get to the NBA in our next half hour, along with college basketball as well. Lakina, on this, also too, if you have a comment on the Chicago Bulls, go to our Facebook page at Sports Zone Chicago or Sports on Chicago's YouTube channel. Typing your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. Lakina, looking towards the start of this officially the second half of the season tonight for Chicago. They had 23 games remaining. We mentioned Lonzo Ball's out for the year. Patrick Beverley is in. Lakina, what are you expecting from this Bulls squad tonight? Starting tonight, are you looking at this team overall, or which player or players are you looking at to improve their stock as the second half of the season?
I mean, look, the second half. I mean, like I said, the All-Star break couldn't have come fast enough for this team, and I think you could tell that sort of like the lackadaisical attitude and whatnot. I know people want to call out certain players and certain things and this and that. Now, look, for me, I think this is a team that's very capable of getting into the playoffs. They're still within striking distance of getting into that 10th spot. Look, they're not that far away from getting that 6th spot. So, look, I think. Look, there's still like a lot of there are about 22, 23 games left, and I think this is definitely going to be a chance for the Bulls to kind of make that move. And look, the DeRozan's feeling much better. You saw a little bit of him in the All-Star game. He looked okay. He's getting better. The schedule kind of works out. They've got Brooklyn, they've got Washington, they've got they got to go at Toronto and Detroit and Phoenix. They're getting a little bit better. Indiana and Denver, so they have a shot at making a move here, and I think they're more than capable of doing just that. They need to bring that consistency and bring that fire, that kind of like the finish off games, and hopefully Pat Bev can be that spark that the Bulls desperately need.
And the Bulls' strength of schedule in the second half of the season is ranked 19th in the league. So, like you mentioned, Lakina, the strength of schedule, at least to start off for the first couple of weeks, are in their favor before they play Denver, before they play Phoenix. I assume I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I'm assuming that's the start of their West Coast road trip because I haven't had one since the turn of the new year. But you assume that Phoenix will have Kevin Durant by then. Denver, they won't have any guys resting by then. So the Bulls can have a chance to get near 500 before you face those top teams in the West.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. They real quick before we go to break. Before we'll recap some of the games, including a good one last night between the Grizzlies and the Sixers. But I think which player are you looking for in the second half, Sid? I think there's definitely like a couple of guys that I think for me, Ayo can kind of get off that little slump, I guess, sophomore slump, and perhaps maybe. I would think also too maybe Kobe White and maybe even Zach LaVine. I know that I'm sure he's heard for the last few days from a lot of folks saying that he's not a match guy and he should be traded and blah blah blah. Those are the guys that I think need to have a big second half to kind of like give at least the Bulls at least a shot to try and make a little bit of a playoff push.
You took one of my guys in Ayo Dosunmu, and I'm looking at him, especially what I just mentioned with him about being a mentee to Patrick Beverley. But I'm looking at Patrick Williams, see if he can improve on his play from the first half of the year. Also, too, I'm looking at Zach LaVine. Is any more drama is going to go on between him and head coach Billy Donovan and or his teammates as the Bulls trying to make a push to get into the playoffs, perhaps the play-in tournament? If he acts up again or causes any more trouble, I think the Bulls may try to trade him again this summer, but that's a long ways away. But I'm looking at Patrick Williams and how Zach LaVine can handle the pressure as the Bulls trying to match expectations from a year ago, at least return to the playoffs.
All right, we're going to take a really quick break. We'll talk about the rest of the NBA. Like I said, we'll recap some of the games from last night as the NBA starts the second half. Well, quote unquote, like 2/3, last third of the season. I guess is more like it. But also, too, we'll talk some college hoops as Illinois gets their revenge on Northwestern behind a big second half from Jr. And also to some other big upsets that we get closer and closer to March. So more hoops talking our basketball power hour here on Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown. More hoops talk, both pro and college, right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports, hashtag Fun Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Chaos Cup again on the IG. If you have,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say if you have something, comments, about the Bulls or the NBA, or also college hoops, we'll be talking about in a few minutes. Just go Sports on Chicago's both YouTube and Facebook pages, and we'll have them up right there for you on the screen.
All right, let's review some of the key games that took place in the NBA last night as the second half of the season got underway. As Lakina mentioned before the break, let's review the Memphis-Philadelphia contest from the First Union Center last night as the Philadelphia 76ers come from behind to defeat the Memphis Grizzlies 110-105. Desmond Bane led Memphis with 25. James Harden led the Philadelphia 76ers with 31 points. Lakina, Joel, and B came to play, especially in that second half. Memphis shot the ball well, especially in that first half. Early in that third quarter, their defense intensity started to pick up, but they started to miss shots. Philadelphia started making their shots down the stretch. Joel and B had a couple big blocks down the stretch. And Tobias Harris, who you haven't heard from too much all year, he had to go ahead shot from the right pocket corner for three with under 38 seconds left to give the Philadelphia 76ers the lead, which led them on to the victory last night. Their 39th win of the season.
Yeah, big sequence there, easy for me to say. That whole finish there in that game. Of course, it was on TNT. Of course, Harris hit that 3-pointer, to kind of seal that win, because they were down 2. And now, Joel B on the other end came back and had a big block, so they were able to hold off the Grizzlies. They're pretty exciting game from even before that. That was actually really exciting. But yeah, a nice win for Philly. I know some people say that maybe, some guys have kind of, rested up a little bit. I know Embiid took a couple of games off, leading into the All-Star break. So I'm thinking that people were kind of like, okay, this is, you only got 23 games left. So let's, get things going. And of course, the Sixers, came out in a big way with that big win last night.
Yeah. So we mentioned Memphis is one of the top teams in the West. We're led by John Morant. They go through stretches where they play good basketball. They go through bad stretches where they can't play team basketball. Last night, it was a game that they should have had in their back pocket, but it didn't work out their way. Philadelphia, as we mentioned, Lakina, the last few weeks, they're quietly working their way back up there in the top of the Eastern Conference next to Milwaukee and Boston. So Philadelphia, if they can keep this up, they can really make some noise in the playoffs. But as I said before the season started, and I'll say it again, Doc Rivers, the pressure's still on him to perform in the playoffs. The problem hasn't been the regular season, Lakina. The problem has been with this Philadelphia 76 team is performing like this during the playoffs. And James Harden, will he slightly change his game to fit the playoff tempo? We shall see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can keep it up. And of course, NBA, as you saw our buddy Lamont, comment that maybe he's trying to get this Cassie up for MVP. We'll see what happens there. But the one guy that is sort of like, may have a stranglehold on that, and we talked about in our roundtable, is Denver's Nikola Jokic. He led the way with another triple-double as, of course, the Nuggets beat the Cavs in a big one here. For me, I think, look, this is sort of, Michael Porter Jr., of course, led the way, but, of course, Jokic had his, he had, a triple-double 3 quarters already, by tonight. He didn't even have to play much in the fourth quarter, I should say. The rest of the NBA has done it like this 9 times, in total. So it's his 22nd his 22nd on the season. Nuggets entered the day 21-0 when they're now 22-0 when Jokic has a triple double. So this is a nice win by the Nuggets. They kind of took a stranglehold on it in the fourth quarter. So this was an interesting game from start to finish. So I got a chance to watch this game via my this laptop here, and like I said, I mean, Denver kind of got it going in the fourth quarter, and led by Mr. Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, it's all about that supporting cast for Denver. Like you mentioned, Michael Porter Jr., who's been injured the last couple of years. He's finally coming to form this year. Also, Jamal Murray, my guy. Let's see if he can keep it up when he missed all of last year. Also, I know they picked up Reggie Jackson, so Jokic finally has a good supporting cast that he can depend on. He doesn't have to do everything every night. And so Denver, I'm not saying they're going to the finals, even though they lead the Western Conference right now, but they'll be a tough out with someone come playoff time. On the flip side for Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell is the man for the Cavs, but Darius Garland, where are you? Jarrett Allen, my guy, all-star from last year, where are you? Some of the other supporting castmates that had good years last year, they've been disappearing here and there. So Cleveland, I know you want to be respected as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. You got to win some of these games like this against top teams.
Yeah, no, they haven't shown that yet still, so we'll see as we get closer and closer here. But, the Celtics in a high-scoring game. We took the over in Boston, Indiana last night. I think you had a pretty nice Thursday, 142-138 in overtime. Now, Sid, I mean, this was a really, strange game if you guys got a chance to watch it out there. But it was definitely, of course, Jason Tatum had 31 points. Jaylen Brown had 30. Michael Broughton had 24 off the bench for them. They were able to kind of get it going, but Indiana, they kept up for a little bit. They had their chance to kind of not pull away, but to kind of try to maybe take control of the game. They just weren't able to do that. So of course, Brown and Tatum have now scored 30 points in the same game 9 times this year, and over the last 3 years, the only duo to record more such games in a season is Kobe and Shaq. They did it both from they did 10 times from 2000 to 2001 and 12 in 02 and 03. So they joined some pretty good company there. We're talking about Brown and Tatum. But this game here, if you're Indiana, you're kicking yourself because you had your chances to kind of try to maybe take control of this game, especially in regulation.
Yeah, they kept up with Boston shooting the 3-point shot, but they just ran out of gas, especially at the end of regulation when I believe it was Halliburton. I believe not Halliburton. Was it? No, it
Miles
wasn't
Turner had,
Halliburton.
Miles Turner had 40, which ties a career high
Yeah,
for
he had 40
Miles.
bucks. I think it was Halliburton who missed that, which would have been a game winner. That would
Yeah,
have
I think
ended the
it was
game.
Halliburton who missed that three
Yeah,
in the regulation that would
yeah,
have won
it
the
went
winner.
to overtime. But Boston took over from there, and Jason Tatum, as you mentioned, he had a couple big steals too last night to kind of seal that win for the Boston Celtics. Like you said, if Indiana misses the play-in tournament or the playoffs altogether, they'll look at games like this and would say, this is the game we should have had, and we were right there. We just couldn't close it out. On the flip side for Boston, they keep rolling on the top of the standings in the Eastern Conference. These are the games that you have to win, and it builds character come playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll see if this loss comes back to bite Indiana. Now, the second game of that TNT Thursday night doubleheader was the Lakers over the Warriors, 124-111. Malik Beasley had 25 points. I think that's probably his highest point total in a while. Now, it's interesting because, of course, Golden State, there's still some questions there, and also too with the Lakers too. They're kind of like not kind of like they're still right up there near the plan, but they're not there yet. So I'm kind of could maybe, I know D'Angelo Russell got hurt, so we'll see. Here is ankle, so we'll see how serious that injury is. But if you're the Lakers, you gotta be feeling pretty good about this win last night.
Yes, LeBron James only scored 13 points. Anthony Davis only had a double-double with 12 points, 12 rebounds. But when you have a supporting cast like this, that actually it looks like, at least so far in the first game since the All-Star break, it works. I know the Lakers have a 3-1 record since those trades were made a couple of weeks ago. They're 3-1 since the trade deadline dates. But you don't have to, LeBron, like he's been doing all year, carrying the team. Anthony Davis is finally getting back healthy. I know he's going through some personal stuff, but he has to stay healthy. Continues to play like he's been playing before he got injured early in the year. You have supporting mates like Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell, who only had 2 points last night. He's trying to work back into the fold, but you have young guys that can help you. All the pressure doesn't have to be on your superstars. So let's give props to Austin Reeves. He had some big buckets last night as well.
Yes, he did. And he kind of help the Lakers pull the stranglehold on that lead, despite LeBron and AD kind of struggling from the field. So, and I think if you're Darvin Ham, that kind of makes your job a little bit easier when you have a supporting cast where LeBron can take a couple of games off, and maybe AD. I know he's been having some personal stuff. We won't get into it, but he can take a game or two off or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see if the Lakers kind of make that move. Now, another Sacramento beats Portland, and Dame didn't play. And that caused a little bit of a stir with some folks because, of course, they got they had the whole week off, almost a week off for that. But and I'm sure he'll probably be a little.
Yeah, Portland had some traveling issues last night getting out of their city because of the bad weather they've been having too. So that played a huge part in it. So the coaching staff said, and Charles Bills and the coaching staff said, hey, let's not play Damian Lillard last night. It was a shame for those Sacramento fans. I know their team won, but it was a shame that they couldn't see Damian Lillard on the floor. I'm sure many people were there in the arena last night wanted to see it.
Yeah, it's snowing and raining really hard out there in those areas in California right now. So that's why saw the various weather issues and such. So I think that was a big kind of sort of a big thing, a point of contentment there for Dame. So I know his family, they've been kind of scattered all over in the States. So that's probably why they were able to, that was probably a smart move by Chauncey Billups' part. But you take the away for Sacramento, but you kind of feel like you got to put an asterisk on it since Dame didn't play. So, but a nice start for Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox had 31 points and look, you'll take the win for Sacramento. I mean, you want to show people that you are for real, that you're not gonna, fall flat in the second half. So nice start by them. I know that they'll play a couple of times again, so they'll probably be able to kind of redeem us. I'm talking about the Blazers, but but a big win for the Kings last night.
Yep, a big win for Sacramento. If you're Portland, if you miss out on the play-in tournament, these would be the games that you'll look back on, and like we talked about with the Indiana and the Pacers. So we could have won this one. We could have won that one. Hopefully, it doesn't come to bite them in the butt. A couple more games to review from last night, Lakina. The Oklahoma City Thunder had a chance to steal one on the road in Utah, but the Jazz said no, as Lauri Markkanen scored 43 points. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, another first-time All-Star, had 38 for the Thunder, as the Utah Jazz, behind Lauri Markkanen's 3 free throws made at the end of overtime, beating the Oklahoma City Thunder 120-119.
Yeah, I mean, that was a Nice win for Utah. That they held them off, and like I said, another one of those games where if you're OKC, you're gonna try to make a run for that 10th spot in that play-in. So these are the kind of losses where you kind of like you might scratch your head and you're like, oh crap, we had our chance to win that game. But look, Laurie had 43, so which up there in his career high. So I think if you'll take the win if you're Utah, you want to kind of stay there in that that middle part, especially with the Western Conference being so locked jam. So you need all the wins you get if you're Utah, so you'll take it.
Yeah, you're Utah, you're taking, especially in the middle of that West pack of the Western Conference standings is very hectic. So you have to take all the wins that you can get. A couple more finals to pass along from last night. The Mavericks dominated the San Antonio Spurs 142-116, and the Raptors are battling the Bulls for that play-in spot in the Eastern Conference in around the 9th, 10th spot. They get a big win in New Orleans, 115-110, as the Raptors defeat the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, that was if you're Toronto, you're battling with the Bulls for that last play-in spot. So yeah, I think these are the kind of wins that but if you're in New Orleans, you're sort of wondering like, okay, are we going to get back to the habits where we're at before the All-Star break? They were missing kind of ill-advised shots, and Siakam made some big shots late for the Raptors. Yeah. So we'll see if they can kind of keep up there. Now going into this weekend's games, tonight 6:00 you got the Knicks and the Wizards at 6. That should be an interesting one. Cleveland will try to bounce back from that loss to Denver as they travel to Atlanta to face Trae Young, and now no Nate McMillan. Now, of course, he got fired this week as a head coach, so they're looking for a new head coach.
It may be Quinn Snyder. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll say there's rumors that maybe Quinn Snyder. It's all but official, but we'll see what happens there. That game will be at 6:30, and the first game of the ESPN Friday night doubleheader should be a good one. You got Miami and Milwaukee. I know our girl Alana Tech guy, who's a big Heat fan. I know she's going to be watching this game, so you check that out at ESPN at 6:30. Charlotte and Minnesota.
I said it's probably her calling you right now.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, that might be her calling me. I'm in the middle of a show, Alana. Charlotte and Minnesota at 7:00. At 7:00. So the first half of that Friday schedule.
Yeah, of course, the Bulls and the Nets will play against. We said at the top of the show tonight at 7:00 locally here on NBC Sports Chicago, and 9:00 the second half of the ESPN doubleheader tonight. OKC, the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Phoenix Suns. I believe Kevin Durant will not play tonight. Check your social media and check ESPN to see if he'll play tonight. But nevertheless, it still should be a great matchup. Devin Booker is back for Phoenix. Chris Paul, hope he can stay healthy. So it's going to be an exciting game tonight. And wrapping up the Friday night schedule, we'll have Houston at Golden State at 9:00. Of course, Golden State is playing without Steph Curry. And also at 9:30, we'll have the Sacramento Kings at the Los Angeles Clippers. That could be another sneaky good game tonight.
Yeah, it could be. We might be seeing Russell Westbrook debut in a Clippers uniform.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. That should be a fun one. And of course, Sacramento, from that big win against Portland last night. Hopefully, the crowds will be pretty decent, because I know there's some crazy weather going on out there in SoCal.
Yeah.
Now, going into tomorrow's games, you got Toronto and Detroit at 11 a.m. an early Saturday matinee here. Miami.
Yeah, because the Detroit Red Wings playing hockey at night at that same arena, Little Caesars.
Yeah, well, they're not. Yeah, so maybe that's why. But Miami and Charlotte. Charlotte off of a back-to-back, so that should be an interesting one at 6:00, I should say. Indiana and Orlando at 6. New Orleans and New York at 6:30. New York, coming off a back-to-back as well from the on the road from DC tonight.
Yep, wrapping up the Saturday night schedule for tomorrow. We have Denver and Memphis at 7:00. The Celtics and the 76ers will be your NBA Saturday night game for ABC. So that should be a good one. Maybe an Eastern Conference Finals preview. We shall see. And then wrapping up the Saturday night schedule, we'll have San Antonio at Utah at 8:00.
That should be a fun one. That Boston Sixers matchup. That should be a good one. Now, could we be seeing a rematch of the NBA Finals from a couple of years ago? Phoenix and Milwaukee at high noon on ABC. The first of that Sunday doubleheader. Brooklyn and Atlanta should be an interesting one at 2:00. Washington and the Bulls. Note their start time, folks, at 2:30 at the UC. Remember that start time. Also at 2:30, the second game of the ABC Sunday doubleheader. You got the Lakers and the Mavs. So the new look Lakers looking really good. Of course, the New Year Mavs, with Kyrie and Luka in the game. So that should be a fun one. at 2:30 on ABC, and Toronto and Cleveland should be a fun one among the first of the night games at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, wrapping up the Sunday night schedule, we'll have Sacramento at OKC at 6 o'clock. That should be another sneaky good game. At 6:30, part of the ESPN Sunday night doubleheader, we'll have Minnesota at Golden State. Of course, no Steph Curry for that contest for the Warriors. At 8 o'clock, we'll have Houston at Portland. And then wrapping up the Sunday night schedule, the second half of the ESPN Sunday night doubleheader, we'll have the Clippers and the Nuggets. And that's your schedule from the around the association for this weekend.
Yeah, that should be a fun one there, that Clippers Nuggets game. You know, I'm looking forward to that one. It should be a whole lot of fun. Going to be glued to that one. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Of course, we're going to wrap up our basketball power hour going, to the college hardwood now. A big one locally last night as Illinois came back from, I think they were like down 15.
Yeah, they were down as mid as 18.
But like 15. Well, they were down 15 at the half. Of course, they were down as much as 18. But Terrence Shannon had 26 points. Terrence Shannon Jr., I should say, had 26 points. I think he had 22 in the second half as he leads the way for the Illini as they come back and beat Northwestern 66-62. Boo Booey had, no, I'm not making this name up, folks, had 35 points.
Don't laugh.
But it wasn't enough for Northwestern. So this is a very interesting game. This is actually a much needed win for Illinois because they have to they're kind of like 2 games back from getting that top 4. Of course, you got Purdue, you got Northwestern, they're in second place, so they got knocked out a little bit. But Illinois needed that win desperately to kind of keep up, and with only about 2 weeks left in the regular season, well, actually about a week and a half, actually, they needed that win to kind of sort of be right there near the top for that top 4, being 4 in that double bye for the Big Ten tournament coming up here in Chicago.
Yeah, I was encouraged by Terrence Shannon's performance last night in the Keenan. He's one of the players that I was begging for to step up for the Illini. He did his thing last night. He drove to the basket multiple times, and I've been begging for him and the Illinois guards to do that this year. I know they live and die by the 3 a little bit too much, but it was nice to see Terrence Shannon driving the ball to the basket last night. Positive things happen when you drive to the basket. Even if you miss it, you get some fouls called, and you get some free throw opportunities. But the main thing that made me upset last night was your starting front court for the Illini, Dane Danger and Coleman Hawkins. They only had a combined total of 9 points, and Northwestern did a heck of a job on those guys, especially in that first half. You cannot have a combined total of 9 points from your 2 top frontline men, especially you head toward this postseason tournament. So Illinois has to clean that up. I know Matt Meyer had 14 points, but Illinois, they need some more help in scoring besides Matt Meyer and Terrence Shannon, who stepped up big in that second half last night. But I want to see some overall more team play for Illinois. You saw the other night on Tuesday in that makeup game against Minnesota, a lesser opponent, but against good teams like Northwestern who gets after it defensively, you still got to find a way to play good team basketball offensively. They stepped it up. I'm talking about the Illini in the second half with defense, but I want to see some more balanced scoring. You're going to need that, especially against better teams moving forward.
Yeah, the consistency of the scoring for Illinois has been a big issue for them this season. You got the good Illinois teams, you got the bad Illinois teams. So, we'll see as we get about a week and a half left in the regular season. Now, UCLA held off Utah. Gonzaga, St. Mary's, of course, for their clash coming up tomorrow night. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Michigan got a big win against Rutgers, helping them with their bubble chances. So that could only help them in that front last night. So some of the probably one of the bigger upsets was Virginia losing to Boston College. That was kind of, of course, usually Virginia is due for a baffling loss. So, but look, a nice win for Earl Grant in that program. So they really needed that kind of like a bit of a bump. So, getting that win against a top 5 team, I think that can only help them. Now, of course, Alabama, with all this stuff going on with Brandon Miller, we won't get into that. He led the way with 41 points against South Carolina. UConn, making things interesting in the Big East between them and Providence. They get that win a little bit, get back from their earlier meeting, 87-69, I should say. So a big win for Danny Hurley's Huskies. Bradley beats Valpo, so they're keeping up in the case for the pace for in the Missouri Valley. So Drake beats Illinois State in senior night. So their tournament actually starts next week, I believe. I'm talking about
it's St.
Missouri
Louis
Valley.
Yes.
So so these are definitely wins that kind of get them ready for that tournament. Of course, UNC helping their cause with being DePaul. Auburn beat Ole Miss by 4, so that helps them try to help them with their bubble chances too, as well. Going back to some of the other games, we know we got our girl Maggie is going to be joining us in a few minutes, so make this quick as possible. Texas.
Don't forget Southern Illinois beat Northern Iowa too on Wednesday, so they keep a top afloat in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, trying to get in that top 4 spot there. Texas beat Iowa State. K-State came back to beat Baylor. Marquette, they're kind of in the driver's seat in the Big East. They edged out Creighton. And Texas A&M with a nice win against Tennessee. Miami held off Virginia Tech. Villanova upset Xavier, trying to get themselves in the bubble. Michigan State with their first playing for the first time since that tragic shooting that happened a couple of weeks ago. They get a very nice upset win against Indiana. So, I know there was a lot of emotion there at the Berto Center. So that was a really solid win for Coach Izzo and his guys. San Diego State one step closer to clinch the Mountain West title. They beat Colorado State. Utah State, of course, they're trying to keep pace, and they beat Wyoming on Tuesday. Texas Tech, I should say, beat Oklahoma, so they're trying to get themselves in the bubble discussion. Pittsburgh, sealing their shot. Hopefully, they can get in the top 25. They beat Georgia Tech. Missouri State beat Murray State, so Missouri State, trying to help mess up some days in the Missouri Valley.
Yep. And quickly, let's get to the schedule for this weekend's game. Starting with tomorrow's action, we'll have Arkansas at number 2, Alabama at 1 o'clock on ESPN2. Also at 1 o'clock on CBS, we'll have Arizona State. I know my computer's just messed up. Lakina will see if you have the schedule in front of you. It was a big game too. That's on CBS.
Let me see here.
Okay.
We talking about Arizona?
Arizona State, yeah.
Oh, Arizona State. Oh, wait.
I believe.
Arizona hosting Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, Notre Dame, me and Georgia Tech, Texas and Oklahoma in the Red River. They're Baylor and Kansas. That's from last week. My bad.
It's Texas and Baylor tomorrow on ESPN at 1 o'clock. It was Arizona and hosting Arizona State. That's at 1 o'clock on CBS.
Yeah, that should be a fun one there as well. Got the best. State got Arizona got the best of Arizona State in their first meeting, so that should be a fun one. There's usually between these two in-state rivals. Creighton and Villanova, that should be a fun one. TCU and Texas Tech, Clemson and NC State. Both teams trying to soften their bubble chances there. Alabama and Arkansas, Arizona State, as you mentioned, Sid. Of course, the Texas Baylor games on ESPN. Hold on, that my computer's acting weird too. Like I said, sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. We're live, kids. So, but let me get this back up.
Yeah,
here.
Indiana and Purdue tomorrow night at 6:30 on Fox. The Saturday night primetime game for the week for those guys at Fox, and also too at 9 o'clock on ESPN. We'll have St. Mary's versus Gonzaga live from the state of Washington. And wrapping up the Sunday schedule, we'll have number 21 Northwestern at Maryland at 11 a.m. in the morning. That's on the Big Ten Network. This is for Sunday. And also, too, at the same time, Illinois will visit Ohio State to take on the Buckeyes. That's on CBS Sunday morning at 11.
And also, too, going back to Saturday tomorrow, you got Auburn and Kentucky. That's at 3 o'clock on CBS. So that should be a fun one there between those two teams, Virginia and North Carolina. North Carolina got a big win. So if they can beat Virginia, they can kind of help their tourney chances. Tennessee, you're trying to bounce back from that early week loss. They face South Carolina at 5 o'clock on SEC Network. Let's see here. A couple other games. As some of these teams, especially some of the smaller conferences, are wrapping up their respective seasons. Indiana, Purdue at 6:30. Of course, you mentioned that DePaul and Marquette. Those two teams, old rivals, battled out on FS1 at 6:30. Vodtech and Duke at 7 o'clock on ESPN. San Diego State, New Mexico. They really need this one to try to get themselves back on track. But San Diego State can wrap up the Mountain West title. And of course, St. Mary's and Gonzaga at 9 o'clock on ESPN. Of course, game day will be there. These two teams, of course, St. Mary's won the first meet, so Gonzaga will try to get back at home in Spokane. So that's at 9 o'clock on ESPN. Oregon State at 9 o'clock on the Pac-12 network. And yeah, that's your schedule for this weekend in college hoops.
All right, stay tuned for more sports and more fun. That Second City Sports Friday Fun edition continues with Maggie Hendricks of Bally Sports and our girl Christine, the Queen Manika. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Oh. Oh. Okay. Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sorry for technical difficulties, folks. Lakina McGee. You can follow me at Keita McGee on the Twitter and at Candace McGee on the IG.
I'm Sid the Kid. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. If you want to hit us up in the comment section, especially for our next guest, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. Lakina, let's not waste any time. We gave her a nickname the last time she appeared on our podcast. Now that we were doing live shows, I'm glad that she's coming back. She's a hometown girl now, a national sports reporter for Bally Sports. She used to work at 670 The Score. Now she's doing even bigger and better things. And let's bring her on right now. She's going to give us the latest in Chicago sports and more. She's our homegirl, our sports auntie, the one, the only Miss Maggie Hendricks. Maggie,
Yay!
Welcome back.
I'm so glad to be here, and I love being the sports auntie. That's just the greatest name for me.
No problem.
The best for you, Maggie.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, Maggie, before we get started, that we love all, I guess, that we had on our podcast and now our live shows for the past couple of years. But one of my favorite episodes of when we had you on, of course, it was during the height of the pandemic. We talked everything about Chicago national sports, the Last Dance, with the Michael Jordan documentary. We for people who haven't seen it, go to War Media's YouTube page and find the episode with Maggie Hendricks. She shut it down for 2 hours. So, Lakina, I know you remember, we did it 2 straight hours, no break. The conversation was flowing, and we just had a great time. So we'd like to thank you very much for that, Maggie.
That was fun.
Yes,
We
it
don't
was.
do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
we don't
was.
do that just with anybody, Maggie. So you're pretty special. We had I think you're like the first. I think the only person we have for 2 whole hours. So, but
Non-stop.
nonstop, no break. So that's how great the conversation was. Now let's talk a little bit of Bulls first for today's Bulls. But oh yeah, I know. I hate to transition out of that, but yeah, Pat Beverley, of course, back in Chicago. He's wanting to come back here. Do you think he could give him that he could give the Bulls a spark that they desperately need?
Well, yes, I do think he can, and I am glad that Pat is back in Chicago for the same reasons I was happy that Dwayne Wade was back in Chicago. I think it's important for Chicago kids to see someone who came out of Chicago, And I really think that's important when it's somebody from the West Side, right? Because we know the South Side is well represented, the North Side well represented, suburbs. The West Side doesn't get the love. The West Side doesn't get the representation. And I'm from Melrose Park. I went to high school in Oak Park, went to Fenwick High School. So I'm not from the West Side, but I'm from close enough to the West Side to know it, to get it. A little bit, not quite. I will never, try to steal that valor. But I get it a little bit more. And I understand how important it is that somebody who's been through what Patrick Beverley's been through, literally living in a car, and now he's playing for the Bulls. I mean, it's just a special thing. As far as the basketball goes, I do think he's going to give them enough of a spark to maybe make the play-in tournament, maybe even make it to the actual playoffs. And that's the problem, They have been in this purgatory forever.
Yeah.
Basically, since Derrick Rose went down with another proud Chicagoan that we were happy to have here. And when Derrick Rose went down with that first knee injury, from that moment on, we had this purgatory the Bulls have been in, right? Barely making the playoffs, And so, we've seen what other Chicago teams have done when they've said, screw it, we're going to blow everything up and we're going to rebuild correctly. The Blackhawks did it, won 3 Stanley Cups. The Cubs did it, won the World Series for the first time in 108 years. The Bulls are just trying to kind of half-ass it. And it's I'm happy Patrick Beverley's on the team also because he's probably one of my favorite players in the league because I love somebody who is always going at you. He's exhausting to play, and that's fun.
Yeah.
But also, I think he's going to make them too good, but not good enough to get to the finals or something,
Yeah.
Right.
I want to ask you about Zach LaVine, Maggie. Of course, he got that big $250 million contract last summer. Many people say that he's not a franchise player, which I agree with. He's a number 2 or number 3 guy on a championship contending team. Of course, we heard about the trade rumors a couple weeks ago at the trade deadline. It depends on how the Bulls season finishes out. Of course, we know he had beef with Billy Donovan for benching him early in the season. Of course, that little blow up during the Minnesota game back in December on the road. It depends on how this Bulls season finishes out. Do you think that the Bulls management will try to trade Zach LaVine during the summer?
I mean, it seems like they're really reticent to do anything. We saw in the trade deadline, they didn't really do anything. They haven't done much with their exceptions. They haven't done much. So I don't really see them trading Zach LaVine because they haven't shown us that they're willing to do anything. So that's, I think, the other frustration with this Bulls team is that it's not with the team. The players, I think, are doing the best they can. And even, when a coach and a player has a blow up, it is a 82 game season. It is a long season. They travel all the time. That stuff's normal. Just like you get annoyed at your boss, I get annoyed. Well, no, I'm never annoyed with my boss, but
I'll be watching.
People have those, you have that. That's normal. That to me doesn't say that necessarily he's going to try to be in Atlanta, how Nate McMillan got forced out by Trae Young, or did he? I mean, we know he did. So, I don't think they're going to do a lot of trading or make a lot of moves just because they haven't shown us that that's what they want to do,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens now. Let's lighten the move here a little bit here, guys. We'll talk some Bears. Let's talk some Bears for a second. Of course, Maggie. They got the number 1 pick. They got the most salary cap space in all the NFL. There are rumors about maybe Justin Fields being traded, from fans and other media, whatever and the like. What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I think it would be stupid as hell to trade Justin Fields. I think it would be like Brock for Brolio. It would be another one of those bad trades that Chicago, unfortunately, is known for, because he has shown all kinds of potential. The man doesn't have a line. He doesn't have many people to throw to. And that's something that either the number 1 pick in and of itself, or trading in the number 1 pick and getting more picks, or getting another player, that can help him and make him be successful. So I would think it would be very silly for the Bears to trade away Justin Fields, use that pick to get another young quarterback who needs to be broken in, when Justin Fields is ready and is ready to be a star. I mean, the Bears should have been even worse somehow, but he carried that team on his back all season. And it's really impressive what he's been able to do now that he has a coach who plays to his strengths and stuff. So I really, really hope that any sort of trading Justin Fields things is just the other team planning shit or something like that. It doesn't feel true to what the Bears have said they're going to do. But the NFL is sneaky. It's tricky. I mean, I still will never forget poor Mike Glennon being at the draft party when they drafted Mitch Trubisky after telling Mike Glennon he was the quarterback. So, you never know. But that was a different administration. So hopefully they wouldn't do something like that.
Speaking of starting something new, Mackie, of course, the new league year along with free agency starts for the NFL on March 13th. I know the Bears had the most cap space in the NFL, around $100 million or so. It depends on who you talk to, but we know they're going to spend some money. But as I remind people that most of that money has to be saved for Justin Fields in about 2 or 3 years from now. Which position do you think that the Bears will target first? Running back, defensive line, and once free agency starts next month?
I definitely don't think it'll be running back because, unfortunately, and I grew up watching Walter Payton, so I love running backs. But running backs also, they get injured so quickly that you can find them a lot easier. So I think both defensive line and offensive line needs to be targeted. Justin Fields was on his back way too much this season. He got hit way too much. And also then the running game was affected because there were just too many holes in the offensive line. So I think that those are the 2 areas that really need to be targeted. And yeah, it was so weird watching the Bears have a good quarterback and bad defense. That just who are you people? Because
yeah, I mean, it's weird to get used to, right? Usually it's the other way around. We had a good defense or a great defense. We have a bad quarterback or not an average quarterback. So what do you think about bringing back guys like David Montgomery, Eddie Jackson? I know Eddie has been very adamant he wants to come back here. He wants to stay here. So what do you think? Any chances of either him or David Montgomery coming back?
I mean, I think a lot of it depends on their price. And I'm all for players going and getting as much money as they can, particularly in the NFL, because of the damage they take on their bodies. Go get every single penny you can, man. But I also feel like the Bears have so many needs that spending a lot of money on Eddie Jackson or David Montgomery, I think Eddie Jackson makes a little bit more sense to spend money on than David Montgomery, unfortunately.
We're hanging out with our sports auntie, Ms. Maggie Hendricks. She's a national sports reporter for Bally Sports. She's hanging out with us on the hashtag Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. Maggie, let's turn our attention to baseball. Of course, spring training is underway. A couple of games get started today. Most of the rest of baseball gets started this weekend. Let's focus in on the Chicago White Sox. Of course, Tim Anderson had a little beef on the White Sox Talk podcast with Chuck Garfien. Of course, the team underachieved last year, finishing at 81-81. They have a new manager, Pedro Grifol. I know it's early, but where do you see this White Sox team finishing in 2023? Do they have a realistic shot at the playoffs? Will they surprise people, or will you see some bad, mediocre baseball?
You know, I think with the White Sox, it's one of those times when it's like I really have no idea because there's so much new, and also I don't know if we are really aware of how much damage Tony La Russa did to a young team and how much needs to be undone. And so I think a lot. Usually baseball, I don't think of the manager having like as much of an effect, say, as football or even a little bit basketball. But in baseball, they usually take a bit of a back seat. But I think because there are a lot of young players on that team that didn't exactly get treated 100% correctly by Tony La Russa, like they have to have like a whole new experience of what it's like to be a major league player. So I think it depends on a lot on how the managing job goes and how the players respond to it. And I would both not be surprised if the White Sox got out to like this great start, and I would also not be surprised if they were like, we're a complete mess to start the season, because it's one of those up in the air things.
I'll take option number one as a Sox fan, obviously.
I'll say feast or famine. Unfortunately, it might be the case with the Sox this year.
I feel like it's going to be that. It's not going to be anything in between.
No, exactly. What about the Cubs, though? What do you think about the Cubs' chances? Of course, you got Dansby Swanson, Trey Mancini, Jameson Tallman. Now, I've said that they could probably make a run at maybe 500, perhaps maybe make a one of the 3 wild card spots. I'm not going to say that they're not ready to win the division yet, but what say you?
I think I'm excited to see how this young team kind of all comes together. I'm definitely going to need like the picture chart of who these guys are for a lot of the. I think for the first few games, it's like, can you turn around so I can read your name on the back? But I think that the youth is something exciting. And like you said, no, they're not winning the division. The rest of the division's too good. But I think that they do have the skill and the power to go after to push for a wild card spot. And now it's just like let's see how this can all come together.
Yeah. Let's go back to football, Maggie. Let's talk about broad NFL issues, and usually it surrounds the quarterback, and this year is no different. We'll get to Derek Carr in a second, but Aaron Rodgers is supposedly, I'm using air quotes here, is supposedly coming out of hibernation outside appearing on Pat McAfee's podcast every Tuesday. Some people have him retired. Some people have him traded. Even some people have him back with the Packers for another year. What say you about Mr. Aaron Rodgers? It's very hard to predict at times.
This whole like whatever darkness retreat, first of all, that sounds nice. Like, just like let me sleep. All right, fine. But it feels like he is pushing off a difficult conversation that he needs to have with the Packers, because I think we all know his time with the Packers is done, and it's Jordan Love's turn to take over the team and hopefully play terribly so that the Bears can beat them both times. But it does feel like everybody knows this. It's almost like that couple, that you guys that everybody knows that they need to divorce, they need to break up. We all know that couple. And everybody else in the world knows it. They just are putting off the hard conversation. That's what it feels like with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. It's like, can you guys just have the hard conversation and get it over with and have it by March 13th so that everybody can get started on the league year? Because right now, this is it's just exhausting. And nobody wants to go to a party with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers because they're going to get in a fight. You know it.
Now, what about Derek Carr? I mean, we saw him have dinner with some of the Saints brass a couple of weeks back. Now, they have moved some money around. Now, Sid and I have said that maybe Tampa might be a better spot for him, but it's because that NFC South is a more winnable division. What do you think? What do you think Derek Carr's next stop will be?
It seems like New Orleans is a good fit for any quarterback like Derek Carr, who's, I'm not going to say system quarterback because that's always seen as like derogatory, but he is somebody who learns systems quickly. So I feel like that makes sense for him in New Orleans. But, I Tampa could make a lot of sense too, because again, it's the same kind of thing. It's just a plug and play because they already have everything in place because they put it in place for Tom Brady. So I think he would have success in either of those places. And yeah, the NFC South right now is
Yeah. Enough said.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. Yeah. Staying with our quarterback theme, Maggie, let's go to the AFC West and focusing on the Denver Broncos. So, of course, Sean Payton, the former coach of New Orleans Saints, he just finished a year on Fox TV now. He is the new head coach of the Broncos, and he's responsible for getting Russell Wilson back on track. Of course, he told Russell a week ago to get off of social media, and so a few words. Do you think that Russell Wilson's career, I'm not going to say it's over, can it be saved, or do you think we'll see at least some of what he did early in his career in Seattle? Do you think Sean Payton can have enough magic to save Russell Wilson's career?
I don't think so. I think that Sean Payton is a very good coach, and there's a reason why he was so sought after. But I think that what will save Russell Wilson's career is Russell Wilson. And it doesn't seem like he is on board with saving it, if you know what I mean. Like Marshawn Lynch talked about how somebody said, oh, when was the last time you talked to Russ in an interview? And he said, I can't reach out to Russ. I have to go through his manager, and I'm not doing that. Marshawn Lynch. Mm-hmm. Marshawn Lynch doesn't have your phone number. Like, it's that. And then this whole thing that he had in office at the Denver Broncos, in the Denver Broncos offices. You're not a coach. You're a player. Why would you have an office? And The Athletic did a really good story on him today that said that put a lot of his teammates off because he said, well, I have an open door policy. And they said, but you're not a coach. Your open door policy should be you sitting at your locker. And that's how we relate to each other as football players. Mm-hmm. We don't want to go into your office. Like you're not that different from us. And so like those kinds of attitude things, that's not something that a coach can fix. That's not something that anybody but Russell Wilson can fix. And it sounds like he's already done some damage already in Denver in just 1 year.
Yeah. Interesting what happens there. Now let's go to the AFC North for a second. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. Apparently he wants as much money as Deshaun Watson. And apparently, I guess, the Ravens have offered him that much money, but he's turned it down. The deadline's coming up. What do you think is going to happen over there in Baltimore?
Well, the interesting thing with the Deshaun Watson, and we don't have to get into Deshaun Watson himself. I'll just talk about his contract. Because if I get into Deshaun Watson, it'll go for a while. His contract is guaranteed, and that's not something normal for NFL players is guaranteed contracts. And so now that Deshaun Watson has that, there's a lot more players who are going to start, because that precedent's been set, they're going to start pushing for somewhat of a guaranteed contract. And when you think about it, football players of all sports not having guaranteed contracts, I mean, when poor DeMar Hamlin went down with a heart attack, the Bills had to announce, yes, we're going to pay him his full salary because normally he would not be paid, which is like the crazy thing because of the contracts not being guaranteed. So that is, I think, the big sticking issue for Lamar is not just like, hey, are you going to give me money? I want to know that I'm going to get this pot of money. I think Lamar Jackson is worth a heck of a lot more than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is younger. So that I think is probably the sticking point for the Ravens. So this is going to be an interesting thing to see how it plays out, especially because it seems like both sides are being so open and transparent about it. So I am very interested to see. I have a hard time picturing him in anything but a Ravens uniform, but I feel like he's a good fit there, but yeah.
Last moment or two with our sports auntie, Maggie Hendricks of Bally Sports, hanging out with us on Second City Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in living color. Sid Lakin here with you. A couple more minutes left with Maggie. Maggie, I know you've been with Bally Sports over the last year and a half or so. And name some of the best assignments and best stories you've done since joining Bally's.
Well, I've been lucky enough to cover a whole lot of women's basketball, both college and WNBA. And so I've gotten to cover the last 2 W championships. The one in 2021, of course, is right here in Chicago. So that was always fun. And not just because it meant I didn't have to travel as much, but also it's just, this is, even though like as a journalist, it's like I'm not cheering for one team or another. I just like seeing my city happy. And so, you know, it just made me happy. And then the last one was watching covering the Aces championship, and they won that in Connecticut. And then also covering Olympic sports. That's always my heart. And so covering Olympic trials for both swimming and gymnastics is just really cool, because when you see somebody make the Olympic team, you are seeing the culmination of years, sometimes decades of work, not just for them, but for their parents, their aunts, their uncles, the cousin who would drive them to practice. Like, you just, everybody. And usually at the trials, all those people are there. They can't all make it to the Olympics, but they can usually make it to the trials. And so seeing that moment is, I don't care how many times I see it. I want to see it 100 more. It's just the coolest, the absolute coolest thing to write about.
Well, one more question for me, but also too, another one of our buddies from right here in Chicago. She's over at KXRB in Sioux Falls. She's a big fan of yours, and we haven't had her on in a couple weeks. She wants to come in and say hi for a second. Our girl, Miss Christine Manika.
What's up? How are you?
I don't know if you remember me, but I actually met Maggie, oh my gosh, like almost 5 years ago with my twin sister. Yes. She's an amazing baker, by the way. If you have never had Maggie's baking, it is so good. And that's what she was doing with Nikki Delmonico, and Lawrence Holmes got in on the action. So that was a fun evening. How are you?
I'm good. That honestly was one of my favorite things I've ever done in my career.
Was it?
We did a baking show with Nikki Delmonico and me and Lawrence, and we had invited a bunch of Score listeners, and it was silly and fun, and I am begging Bally Sports basically every day to let me have a Baking with Athletes show one day.
Oh, I think that would be great.
Okay, yeah, but I think it'll be a very highly rated show, Maggie. I think, because the people we know. What's your best specialty? We didn't get a chance to even ask you that. We talked to you for like 2 hours a couple of years ago. We never asked you what was your specials. What's your best baking, cake, pie?
My go-to is chocolate chip cookies. Like, I'm actually going to bake some this afternoon to take to the UConn DePaul game tomorrow. But probably my best thing that I bake, and my husband's favorite, is cinnamon rolls. I make some good cinnamon rolls.
Ooh, yummy. Ooh, yeah. Gosh.
Getting me hungry.
I know. I was going to say, yeah. What they said?
Yeah, I was just say last question for me, Maggie. And the reason why I hit you up yesterday because you also follow Maggie Hendricks on Instagram. She's a great follow. I swear, Lakina, our shows, in particular, our basketball roundtable show from last week, I'm sure her spirit was listening to our show last week because Maggie had a nice suggestion on how to make the actual NBA All-Star game interesting. For those who missed it, Maggie, tell the world of what you said on your Instagram page yesterday.
We need defense. We need some defense to make the All-Star game good again, because a bunch of guys standing around while one guy shoots, that's not basketball. That's practice. That's doing drills before the game. And it's fine. It's fine if that's what you guys want to do, but don't expect a lot of people to want to watch that. It's just, and the ratings are really low. So I think they need to come up with something, maybe give incentives for blocks, gives either cash incentives to the players, to charities and the player, whatever. But there's got to be something, because right now the game is just boring.
And you said a special element they should bring to the All-Star game. What is it? I like that idea.
The Rock and Jack 25 points.
Yes!
There you go. We've been saying that. We've been saying that for the last few years. I mean,
at the WNBA All-Star game, they have I can't remember if it's a 4 or 5 point shot area where you get where you can shoot, like, you're basically doing a logo 3, and then that was worth 4 points in the All-Star game, and it was fun and silly. I think, like, if you block that shot, you get 4 points. Why not?
It'll make it interesting. It'll make it interesting, no doubt.
Yeah, now Maggie's gonna make me watch it again in the morning on YouTube, and I'm definitely going to do that. Oh, that was so much fun back then, Lakina, Maggie.
Yes,
the only thing that was controversial was Marky Morgan doing the first one back in '91, I believe, pulling his pants down during the halftime show.
Yeah,
that was the only controversial thing. How far we come as a society?
Oh gosh, yeah. I forgot about that too. Yeah, that was probably the yeah, and they actually played defense too, Rocket Jock. Go figure. So
yes, they did.
There you go.
The celebrity game, Janelle Monáe was trying to play defense. I don't think it was working, but she was trying.
She was trying. Not well, but yeah.
Women can do everything else. So, like, if she's not great at basketball,
that would not be. Yeah, that would not be good. That would not be good at all. Oh my gosh, we can go on and on with Maggie forever.
I gotta go make cookies. So
yes, you do. I'll say we gotta get you baked. You gotta get your other great skill baking. So, where can people find you in social media for all your writing, your expertise, and on baking, sports?
Both Instagram and Twitter, I'm Maggie Hendricks all together, and it's with a CKS at the end. So.
All right, thank you, Maggie, for joining us today on the program. Glad to have you back. Glad to still hear you and see you working in the sports media realm again. So don't hesitate to come back on our program very soon. We love having you. You are official sports auntie of the show, so wear that title proudly, and we'll definitely have you back again soon. Okay, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all right, take
Maggie.
care.
All right, that was Maggie Hendricks from Bally Sports. Of course, she's going to be covering the UConn DePaul game tomorrow, so make sure you guys check out her reports on social media. Now we're going to catch up with our. Yes, she is. She's awesome.
She's so much fun.
Yeah, well, also too, another friend of ours who we have so much fun with, who is awesome. Our girl KSRB's Christine Manika will be joining us. She'll recap the Super Bowl, the White Sox, and all the weird stuff that happened over the week with Tim Anderson, and so much more. Oh gosh. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, KSRB's Christine Manika, Second Seed Sports on Chicago, coming up our last half hour for the week right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Second City Sports. #Friday Fun Friday, wherever you want to call it. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina, and that's homegirl from KXRB Radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Miss Christine the Queen Manika. What's up, Christine?
How are you?
No, we had another foot of snow on the ground, so we're great.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, thankfully I think it just missed us, that snowstorm, and apparently we, like we said earlier, it's
actually didn't even talk. You didn't get anything this year.
I know
we didn't even talk.
Don't. I won't say that. It's still about 5 more weeks of winter left, Christine. So we can still get hammered. So
just real quick, Lakina. Just a reminder, we have less than 25 minutes left remaining of the show for today and for the week. If you want to hit us up in the comments section, you could do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Christine. So we gave you a chance to have you on last week. So what do you think about the Super Bowl with the Chiefs' victory? Their second Super Bowl in 4 years, and Pat Mahomes winning MVP, and basically now has just about everything that he's won so far. So what recap from the game to Rihanna's performance? Give us your quick summary of everything.
Well, I think I should have guessed purple Gatorade like I did last year and stuck to that one. But I thought for once the game was very entertaining on both sides, for the Eagles, for the Chiefs, and we haven't had that type of Super Bowl in a long time. So I think it was right that these teams were both in it this year. I was a little bit disappointed in Rihanna's performance, and I say that because there was so much hype behind it, saying this is her first show in 7 years. This is the first time that she's been out. And I don't know about you guys, but Chris was texting me and he said, "Is Rihanna pregnant?" And I'm like, I don't know, because it wasn't like she made it apparent at first until kind of towards the end, where we were all getting like, okay, like maybe she is pregnant, because I knew she had her son about, 5 months prior to that, 6 months ago, whatever the case is. And I'm just like, either that's like some real heavy postpartum she's got going on, or she's pregnant. And that's a quick turnaround too, to have another kid like that. So once it came out that she was pregnant, I think everybody at your Super Bowl parties probably died down the questions a little bit, because that's always an awkward thing to say. Like, is she? Like, we don't know. So it wasn't like a big reveal, so to speak, but it was a big enough reveal to get everybody talking, I'd say. But I was mainly disappointed because she had so many songs with Drake and Eminem, Paul McCartney, and just, she didn't bring anybody out with her. So I was that was a little bit disappointing, actually, because she has done so many collaborations with artists and whatnot. So then again, she was pregnant. So I don't know what the original plan was before she was pregnant. So it's kind of, I'm not saying she wasn't good. She was singing her heart out. I mean, her voice is incredible live. But again, just disappointed in the overall wow factor of the performance. It didn't really stand out to me. And with Mahomes being going back to football, with Mahomes being the MVP, I don't think he really should have gotten it. And I think it should. I can't remember his name now, and I kept on saying it for the past week. But the guy that recovered those fumbles on the Chiefs' defense,
Nick Bolton.
I think, yes, Bolton. That's his name. I think he should have gotten the MVP. I fully believe that. Not that Mahomes wasn't amazing, and he didn't, get the job done. He played through a high ankle sprain, as we could see. But I don't think the game would have turned out the way that it was if it wasn't for Bolton recovering the football right away. So that's my opinion. I still think Mahomes is a great quarterback. I just don't think he should have gotten the MVP.
I meant to send you guys the article this morning. I read this. I think you can find it on yahoo.com, that Rihanna had the most complaints, even more than Janet Jackson's Nipplegate back in 2004. I'm talking about Rihanna had over 103 complaints to the FCC. I don't get it, but that's all. That's all. What are your thoughts about it, Christine, before we move on?
I get it. I mean, kids are watching it, and some of the dancing was a little bit questionable for kids. Like, I totally understand that. But compared to what was seen to that previous performance before, I mean, I think Jennifer Lopez with her performance with Shakira was basically on a stripper pole for the most part.
Yeah,
exactly.
Basically, again, not to say that wasn't a great performance, but I think a lot of artists need to keep in mind that there are kids that are going to be watching this, and that there are kids that look up to artists like Rihanna. Was it all bad? No. Do I think that it could have been different a little bit? Yeah, I wouldn't mind to see it, toned down a little bit more, so I could see some of those complaints.
All right, Christine, before we get to the White Sox, the Bulls will start their unofficial second half of the schedule tonight against the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, which is not to ask you a question. I know you don't want to go through a headache. I know you said a few weeks ago, let's wait till February to see where the Bulls are. Of course, the Bulls.
February.
Yeah, that's what you said a few weeks ago. Because you weren't worried about them at the time, but now they're they're 6 games on the 500. They're still within striking distance of participating in the play-in tournament. Zach LaVine has been drama throughout the season with him and head coach Billy Donovan. Do you still have faith in the Bulls making the playoffs or not?
Oh my gosh, forget about, Zach LaVine. Let's talk about Lonzo Ball, that's now gone for the season. That was a headache too in itself. So I still have faith in Billy Donovan. I still think he's a great coach. I just think some guys are just, how do I put this? Their egos are getting in the way a little bit, like LaVine, for example. And, Ball was kind of jerking the team around a little bit with his injury now. So it's going to be interesting to see where the Bulls end up during the rest of the season. But what we saw last year during adversity and getting, players left and right with COVID, it says a lot with their bench players, what their bench players did, because they got a strong bench. And that's not easy for a team to have, a strong bench. So I think if the guys can step up to the plate, they should be in pretty good shape for the most part.
It'll be interesting. What about Pat Bev? They can kind of give the Bulls that spark.
I think that's look. They didn't really do many moves, the Bulls, like many people would think. I think that would be a great asset to the team. The Lakers, they're obviously not doing anything this year. I don't care if D'Angelo Russell's back on the team or what. He wasn't the same player. I should say he's not the same player what he was when he first came on the team with the Lakers. So it's just going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
All right, you listen to the Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live and live in color. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. It's Christine. All right, Christine, let's get to the White Sox spring training. It started for everybody else for the last couple of weeks. A couple of games will start off today, and the rest of the league will start tomorrow and Sunday. Of course, the White Sox disappointing 81-81 last year. The other day, Tim Anderson appeared on the White Sox Talk podcast from NBC Sports Chicago, being interviewed by Chuck Garfien. During an interview, he said basically he's trying to make it's the players against the media. Some of the people in the media were criticizing them last year when they were losing, and he kind of went at Chuck Garfien. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to part of it, the whole thing, or what have you, but what are your thoughts about Tim Anderson as he entered his 8th year in the White Sox uniform, and he's playing for a contract after the season?
I think it's safe to say that not all reporters, but some people in the media tend to ask the most outlandish questions, questions that come out of left field, so to speak. And I can get some frustration, once rumors are swirling around and, when your own career is being talked about, with you not even probably knowing what's going on behind the scenes of that. I get that it could be frustrating. I think last year when they were talking, or maybe it was a couple of years ago when Tim Anderson was going through those personal issues and also with his ability on the field, that can get to any player, whether it's baseball, football, golf, like whatever the case is, it's going to get to you a little bit. And I think it's important to note for athletes, you got to learn how to have that tough skin. It doesn't matter what the media says about you. It's screw the media, because what we say, it doesn't necessarily have to be what we see you as. That's just what we're portraying. That's our opinion. If you want to prove the media wrong, do something about it. Do something about it, prove them wrong, and kind of go from there. It's tough when you get your personal life dragged into the media. And sometimes when you sign up for a job like that, because it is a job, you don't realize that at the time. So I think after a while it does get to these athletes and celebrities in their own right. So I get it. I definitely will. I understand that frustration.
It's interesting that you say that, Christine, because I think if the White Sox had just lost in like the play in one of the wild card rounds last year, I don't think anybody would have. I don't think Tim Anderson would have had that response. But since they missed the playoffs last year, Cleveland came back to beat them. Yeah, that I could kind of see why he got upset about it. But I think if they go to a great start, we had our girl Maggie said it. I mean, this could go right in between. I mean, this could get be mediocre again, or they can get to that hot start that we saw last year. So I don't know. I mean, I heard Lucas Giolito made some comments saying that he's excited about the new season, playing for fall. So that's gonna be really going to be the key here. And I think early on this season, because they have a pretty tough schedule early on. So we'll see how they react to that and with everything else going on.
And I want to mention, too, it's amazing that Liam Hendricks is out there right now. Nobody thought that they would see him at all during training camp, let alone hear what type of progress he in or where is his treatment at. Because Rick Hahn made it very clear at the start of that announcement saying that you won't hear anything until the earliest opening day. So the fact that he's there right now, throwing balls, hanging with the team, and just getting that chemistry going, that's amazing in itself. And to see, his own pitching coach getting emotional about it, saying how great it is to have him there, that just says it all right there, what that guy means to that team.
Yeah, Ethan Katz, he and Len Hendricks have this great bond. So I mean, and he looks great too, by the way, Hendricks does. So hopefully that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not going to start the season, but will he pitch by the end of this year? We hope that's the case. So like I said, we're still pulling for you, Liam. Kick cancer's ass, and we're behind you all the way. So hopefully you get back to playing baseball very soon. Sure. Our guy, Lamont Scott, has asked you a question, Christine. If you can read it up on the screen. I think we know what your answer is going to be. He asked, where did the Cubs finish? Huh?
Who cares? They're rebuilding.
There's your answer, Lamont. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Show Chicago and Katie McGee.
If they get in the playoffs, good for them.
Cindy Brown and our girl KXR. That's our girl KXR piece, Christine Manika. Not mincing words as usual here on Sports Zone Chicago here on Second City Sports. Now going to some Bears and NFL for a second. Let's talk about some of the stuff that with Derek Carr first. I mean, we've seen him. He's had dinner with, been in contact with the Saints brass. The Jets, they've been, perhaps maybe being floated around, perhaps a destination too that will make Mike Greenberg excited from ESPN. Also, too, we would say maybe Tampa too, or maybe another a rival. So, where do you think Derek Carr's next destination will be?
Oh man, I thought that we were going to talk about Aaron Rodgers' revelation after coming out of the darkness for 4 days.
We'll get to that in a second.
Hello, darkness is my friend.
Oh boy. I mean, with Derek Carr, I think the door is open to whatever team he decides to go to. I think Carolina is still a good spot for him, although I have heard that not only are the Colts trying to go after the Bears for that first round draft pick spot, now Carolina is thinking about going after that first pick spot in order to get a quarterback potentially. So it's an interesting, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's odd, but it's odd that the Bears have been very quiet about this first round pick, that they haven't really led anything on. Like they haven't said, oh, we're going to go this way, we're going to go that way, or like drop little Easter eggs here and there. Who knows what could happen? They could end up keeping the first draft pick for all we know. I don't know, but it's it's kind of an interesting offseason when it comes to not only the quarterbacks that are out there, but also with the Bears having the first round pick thanks to Lovie Smith.
All right, Aaron Rodgers is now supposedly coming out of hibernation. I'm using air quotes for those of you listening back on our podcast. Christine, I don't know you've been hanging with Aaron Rodgers or not, but some people have him staying with the Packers. Some people have him traded. Some people have him retired. Me personally, I predicted right now that he's going to retire. What say you about this Aaron Rodgers quote-unquote saga? What's your final take on it?
It's a facade. I honestly think it's just a facade for the audience, for their own entertainment.
Agreed.
I think he's going to stay with Green Bay. As much as people don't want me to say that, he's going to end up staying with Green Bay, in all honesty, just because the NFC is so up for grabs. Maybe Minnesota's going to take over that top spot, and Rodgers wants to, stake his claim on that. So he's just a weird dude. Like he is just he's just an odd cat. Like I don't know. Clearly he's not doing the TB12 mentality like Tom Brady did, but he's just an interesting player, and because he's a smart guy, right? He's a very intelligent guy. He's just got a weird way of showing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get out of the weirdness and get into the more interesting. Lamar Jackson now, he wants the same amount of guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson was able to get. What do you think? Will he get it with Baltimore, or will Baltimore trade him? What do you think?
Here's the thing. Everyone says the problem with Jackson right now is that he doesn't have an agent to back him up. Well, let me tell you this. Roquan Smith didn't have an agent backing him up. He was representing himself. And look at what he got out of the Ravens. Highest paid linebacker by far.
Yep.
He knew he was worth. Not only was he laughing at all the haters telling him that he wasn't worth that much, he was laughing at the Bears too, saying, this is how much I'm worth. I know how much I'm worth. And I got that for myself, and you were selling me short. So I think just because they're on the same team, he obviously knows what Roquan got out of it. I don't think he's going to back down from them easily, especially when, in his mind, he knows what he's worth and he wants that guarantee. Now, I'm not saying that he needs to get an agent to get that done, because clearly you don't, but maybe it would help him reevaluate things, maybe somehow get someone else to listen to his needs and concerns and give their outside opinion on it. But if he thinks that he can get it, let him do it. Why not? He was a great quarterback back in the day. He can still be that great quarterback.
We're heading down the home stretch with our homegirl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika of KXRB, right here on Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. We're live and in living color on Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakia hanging out here with you. Christine, let's head to the ice and talk. Let's do that hockey. I know we haven't much. I know we haven't much to celebrate with our Blackhawks this year. I know Patrick Kane had a hat trick last weekend. He almost had a game winner against the Las Vegas Golden Knights back on Tuesday, which should have counted, but I digress from that. He scored a goal on the Blackhawks' way to their third victory in a row on Wednesday against the Dallas Stars. The Blackhawks are supposed to be taking. They're now on a mini 3-game winning streak. Christine, I know the trade deadline is next. I believe it's next Thursday. I know Jonathan Taze with battling COVID issues and things of that nature. Looks like he's going to stay put. Have we seen the last days of Patrick Kane in the Blackhawks uniform?
I don't know. They say that he wasn't practicing due to mechanical reasons. Whatever that means, I'm not sure. But I know that he was toying around with the idea of going to the Rangers. I don't know. Now that one of their top players, Taze, is out for the rest of the season, presumably, maybe they're going to try to keep Patrick Kane. He's had one of the hottest streaks in a long time. Like, this is, I don't remember Patrick Kane being this good, except in like the early 2000s, like the 2009, 2010, during like that whole dynasty for the Blackhawks, pretty much. So it's interesting that he's just getting like this burst of energy and he's playing like he's 20 years old again, you know? So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I hope he stays a Blackhawk. It would be great to have players like him and Taze have their full entire NHL careers with one franchise. But I guess it just depends on where they see the team going forward.
Interesting that the Rangers, that the two players that Vitaly Kasov and Jake Lishinin, with the Rangers, those are the two players that Kaner would get traded for, that the Hawks would get back. They didn't play yesterday either due to roster management reasons. They didn't play their game yesterday, so take that however you want. So I don't know. I mean, if you're Kyle Davis, you're kind of in a tough spot because you want to strike while the iron's hot with Kaner. You don't. I know they've been a little bit on a tear, but they're trying to tank. So it's going to be interesting to see what Kyle Davis decides to do. Because remember, Kaner has a full no trade. So if I know his agent's already come out and said that, look, nothing's been official yet. They haven't been approached with anything. So it's going to get interesting with the next few days.
Yep. All right, Christine. Last question from me. It started last weekend. It'll continue this weekend. Are you interested in watching this brand new version of the XFL headed by Dwayne the Rock Johnson? Are you just tired? Are you still going to watch some more football, or you just say I like the NFL? I need a 6-month break. I'll wait for the NFL to come back next year.
I'll wait till September. That's my opinion of it. They've tried to get it going for the past 10 years now, and it's great that they're trying, giving them like full steam ahead, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So that means a hell no to the XFL in Christine's household.
Straight up, heck no. But I would say, I need a break for a little bit.
Yeah. I'll catch a little bit of it, but just to see the product. But overall, it's for actually watching it. But yeah, now at least they got TV homes. I'm talking about the XFL. The Pac-12 is having trouble finding one. CBS, they pulled out, and Warner Bros. Discovery, they pulled out. Now there were rumors that maybe Apple might be on the horizon for them. Also, Ion TV. Yeah, it's like Channel 38 here in Chicago.
An old religious channel from back in the day.
Right, yeah, the old religious one back in the day, yeah. So what do you guys think? I mean, the Pac-12, apparently they can't find a TV home. Nobody wants to be bothered with them, especially now that UCLA and USC will be leaving after this coming next season. So what do you guys think? Christine, I'll start with you.
Go on YouTube? Do YouTube TV? I don't know. I think it's kind of up for grabs. It's interesting that a network hasn't jumped at the chance to pick them up yet, though.
Yeah, speaking of YouTube TV, that's where the NFL is going to be headed towards next season. YouTube TV and Google with the NFL Sunday Ticket.
Sunday
But
Ticket, yep.
yeah, but the Pac-12 really overplayed their hand, and when they started that network over a decade and a half ago, put too much money into it. You have people that don't know what they're doing. It's now it's like they're on the island by themselves. Christine may be on to something here. Maybe they'll do something with YouTube TV. You never know. This business is so crazy. It may be their last resort, using air quotes here. So they got to find a home somewhere because, like you said, that the conference is barely on its last thread. They don't have any major markets now. Like you mentioned, Lakina, UCLA, USC. Both teams are in the LA area, going to the Big Ten starting next year. So it's going to be tough.
Going to be rough waters for the Pac-12. So, they might as well. For our friend Twan say, of course, who does covers the Jets for the New York Daily News, say they should probably just break it up right now because of they can't find a television home. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about this with Maggie, but the Chicago Sky, of course, Candace Parker, Courtney Vandersloot, who have been, I think she had been, like the longest in the franchise. So they've gotten a couple players back, but is it rebuild time for the Chicago Sky, Christine?
It might be. I mean, look, they had a great run with that championship win. And usually when we see a team win a championship, that's when they kind of start to break apart or they fall apart, however you want to put it. So I think maybe it's time to get some new faces for this, not just for the Sky, but for the WNBA out there.
Yeah, it's going to be rough for the next couple of years. Hopefully the fans will continue to support. Lakina, remember about over a decade ago, they went to the finals and they had no radio contract. I don't think they even had a TV contract then when they made it to the finals over a decade ago. Now that the sport has grown here in Chicago and the WNBA is doing well, not compared to the NBA, but it's done well enough to keep its doors open. We'll see how much fan support they get this year, since most of the big stars are not going to be there.
That's gonna be the thing. So yeah, we'll see if the people are going, to the Sky games. Of course, Chicago loves a winner. So, but then now they're gonna be, out for the next couple of years. It looks next year or two. So, I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting. So, anything else, sports wise, or anything else that that you guys want to talk about before we disperse?
A quick announcement, Lakina. WGN TV Sports here in Chicago tomorrow and Saturday, Sunday. For those of you who listen back on the replay on the podcast, from noon to 5 p.m., Live Golf will be on the CW network.
Oh, yeah.
So you can watch it right here in Chicago on WGN TV. That's tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday from noon to 5 p.m. on Channel 9. The CW presents Live Golf.
Yeah, all the CW. I think the CW is only on. I think about like 2/3 of the major markets.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are still some markets that don't have the CW. Oddly enough, so yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how many people actually tune in because I haven't seen a lot of promos for it. So,
well,
that's gonna be the wild card.
I was gonna say if you missed the announcement, the PGA is allowing the LIV players to participate in the 4 majors. They just made that announcement the other day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Probably wanted to avoid all the craziness that probably would have happened had they not been allowed to play. So,
I personally think it's a test for the players that are with LIV right now because there's really no competition with LIV at the moment. So I think this is a test to see if they can still compete at that high caliber level with the rest of the PGA players.
Especially see if we can get your soon-to-be husband in Live Golf.
Oh, gosh. I don't think he'd do that. No.
Well, especially with the Ryder Cup, coming up later this year, that's going to be the real wild card. Will they be able to participate in the Ryder Cup? That's going to be that's going to be like the number one thing. Will guys like Ian Poulter, who have been horse common stalwarts for the Ryder Cup, Patrick Reed as well for the U.S. So that's going to be kind of like the wild card here. So that's why Hendricks has lost his captaincy with the European side is because of his association with LIV. So that's going to be that's the real wild card of whether or not those guys will be able to participate in the Ryder Cup in the fall. But we'll see.
Right.
Yep. All right, Lakita, let's wrap this bad boy up. Yours truly. Oh, that's another big announcement for yours truly. As yours truly is now a season ticket holder, member for the Chicago White Sox. Yours truly got one of the best perks of being a season ticket holder. Yours truly got a free year of MLB.TV subscription. So yours truly can watch all the spring training games and all the out-of-market games for free. So that's what I'll be doing this weekend, watching some spring training action from around the league. So as soon as I get off of here, I'm going to hop on to MLB.com/TV and catch some spring training baseball for free.
Nice.
Thank you, White Sox, for that at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think a lot of the teams are doing that too with their season ticket holders. So I think that's pretty cool. I think Verizon, is also doing that too with their MLB league season pass. So yeah, so that's pretty cool that they're doing that. So look, if you want to watch all the out of market games, I said whether it's spring training or get close to the season, so it's all gonna be right there for you. So yeah, I mean, I like that. That's pretty cool. Sid, congrats.
Thank you.
All right. With that said, you follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me on Twitter at CManika_KXRB.
All right, you can check out our show anytime you want on War Media. Give them a follow on their social media. And also, you can listen to our podcast at War Media, wherever you get your podcasts, Google, Spotify, what have you. It's right there for you. And also, too, you can catch that on our Roku TV.
Roku TV. That's right. We're there. Yep. Go ahead, Lakia.
No, you finish up, Sid.
Okay, as Lakia would say, you can catch our show, Shine and Maya in the morning. The Small Fellows, which will be coming up tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, or Sports Zone Chicago, What's Up, Cuz, and our other specials that will be headed your way very soon. So catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. So get with celebrate the squad, get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Also, too, we want another special out to our sports auntie. I think we're going to try to get trending on Twitter a couple more hours. Our girl Maggie Hendricks from Bally Sports. Of course, you can catch her as she covers DePaul women's basketball as they face UConn, who've been kind of a little bit of on a kind of a slump lately. UConn has, so yeah, we'll see if DePaul the women kind of take advantage of that as she covers both women's and women's college and women's pro hoops. So you check her out there anytime you want. Of course, our girl Christine, you can catch her on KXRB, for Sioux Falls, also to anywhere online. So for Sid and Christine, I'm Lakia. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Sox! Holla!